I'm Arya Schwartz alongside Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr Show, where it's all about the W. You might have heard it by now. We got some big news to announce. 2025 is kicking and screaming. We are in the thick of it. Let's dive right in and discuss many WNBA topics. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. That's patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our amazing team's written content over at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. Welcome back to the show. So we spoke about this briefly. We literally moments ago just finished recording our first episode. Recording isn't the right word. Our first live airing. Our first live episode. If you don't follow us on social media, but you follow the podcast, let me fill you in. Rachel and I were approached by Bleacher Report, who we've been doing, during the WNBA season, we were doing live streams for them. So during the college season so far, we've been doing the AP, when the AP poll drops at 12 p.m. on Mondays. We've been doing a reaction pod or a reaction live stream about that. All of this inside the Bleacher Report app. Well, they came to us a few weeks ago and said, we want to do something very creative and very new. We want to do a year-round weekly WNBA show, and we want you guys to host it. Now, that was, first of all, we'll talk about this in a sec. It took me like weeks before I understood how amazing and whatever. But so we just finished that first episode, and we want to do, sorry, WNBA people, like this isn't going to be so much our hot takes on it, but I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, but about the W, that is. But let's talk about, Rachel, like we are now doing a live, 8 years ago, you and I started doing this podcast together. It's been a wild ride. We've had some amazing guests. We've had my dream guests. I don't know if we've had your dream guests, but we've had so many amazing people on the podcast. And every time it was always such a, did that really happen experience? Like, was that real? Did we dream that? How are we so lucky to have this experience type feelings? And all of it just because we love women's basketball. We love the WNBA. We love basketball. And I'm going way too long, Rachel. I'm just so Rachel.
We haven't been able to really process it yet together. And I think it hit me quicker than it hit Arya. Like when they approached us about the show, and kind of laid out the foundation of it and what it looks like and that type of stuff. Like, of course, that's awesome. It's an opportunity. But then when, just to have someone, I remember, for years talking about, man, we just need consistent coverage. And yes, we've been doing that. We've done it on the Winsidr Show. We've done it with Film Room, in different ways, but we've been here for 8 years, basically as a hobby. We've done it because we're passionate about it. And we've done it because it matters and it's important. And we've built a community in this. And it's something that we absolutely adore. And you've built a phenomenal thing here at Winsidr. But to be able to have a major outlet, a major name, like a platform like Bleacher Report, approach you about, doing something like this, we haven't, we were racking our brains. Has there been a weekly show, like camera, let me see your face, because, I'm not a writer anymore. I tried that a little bit. That's not my thing. My thing is talking.
You did great.
Not a podcast, but like a show, something where like we're going on air, people can tune in and they can actually watch it. And it's groundbreaking. And it was groundbreaking from the moment they approached me about it. I do not take that for granted at all. It's a groundbreaking moment for all of us, though. It's not just me and you. It's not about me and you. It's about just this game. It's about our community. It's about the WNBA. It's about the athletes. And it's about the fans, because the fans are what are driving this. You're seeing a place like Bleacher Report that's seeing the investment. They're seeing that it's worth it. They're wanting to create their programming around the WNBA, which, I don't know, I just don't want to just bypass this and not, reflect on it and be appreciative of the opportunity that, we used to talk about, like, when is that day going to come? We had no idea, but it's really cool. It's really special. I feel humbled and honored to be a part of it and doing it alongside one of my best friends. It's interesting because we have dabbled in it. We've gotten our feet wet last WNBA season, and now getting you to come over with me and do some college basketball stuff has been really fun. And I think they've invested in us and our spaces that we can, kind of show you guys too, which is a huge blessing. But it's just an exciting time. I'm thankful, but I'm not going to lie. I have such a sense of like relaxation when we come on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking about the show and I was like, okay, I don't want to be so buttoned up like we are in the top 25 show and, following a script and we got to follow this and, keep on track. We will stay on track. We will get into it. We will provide our hot takes, but a 30-minute show, when you're trying to get in certain things weekly is difficult, especially for us. We're long-winded. Listen to me right now. Case in point. But there is a certain element. I know there was a question mark of what does this mean with Winsidr? We're not going away. We will likely just piggyback these two off one another since we're here and it works well in our schedules. And there is a sense of peace though, just coming on the pod and like just relaxing. Like I don't feel like I'm like having to be on. I can just really talk and be myself and engage with you and the people who've been with us for so many years now. I mean, we say it all the time. We still think that like 2 people listen to us. So shout out to you guys who've been here.
Shout out to you 2 people
who enjoy listening to us, because it still blows my mind that people want to listen to me ramble on. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that I had an opportunity to get that off my chest. It's definitely too much to, just put out on Twitter. So that's what we wanted to use today for a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, it is, first of all, more than anything, you and I would kill not just for this opportunity, but for anybody, voices that we like to listen to, or anybody, heck, even voices we hate to listen to and we obviously always disagree on, we would kill to have them have a weekly, year-round show to discuss the WNBA, because there's so many things. And as you rightfully said, this shows Bleacher Report's investment in women's basketball. Obviously, it's an investment in us, which is a huge compliment. And Rachel and I both don't like taking compliments. We just are kind of like, cool, let's move on. But I do think it is important. Like, this is historic. We have been dreaming about somebody doing this type of show for so many years. And now we're given this opportunity. And it's extremely humbling. We don't take it for granted. We don't take it lightly. We understand that we have an opportunity to lift up, in my opinion, fight me on this, anybody, the greatest athletes in basketball's history. Well, I won't say history, the greatest league in basketball history and the greatest basketball players in the world today. We get to lift them up, make sure millions of more people, that's weird saying, because there's millions of people who have the Bleacher Report app. So like, we're given an opportunity, right? Like, to spread the gospel of the WNBA and women's basketball. And we are so lucky to do it.
Now we're like missionaries.
Whatever, man. Look, the WNBA is better than the men's league. It's a fact of the matter. It's just a matter of time until, and I said this, I don't remember why I tweeted this out a week or so ago. Like, we're at the point in 2025 in the world where women's college basketball is the hotter, the more paid attention to, the bigger eye pull, the more money invested, the bigger returns, the bigger TV viewership, bigger attendance. It has, in my opinion, at least from an outsider who never was really big into either of those and now is paying attention a little bit more, it has surpassed. And now when people talk about college basketball, they're not saying women's college basketball because college basketball is the men's. They're saying women's college basketball because they want to differentiate which one they're watching, and they are watching the better product. And so in my mind, we're seeing this in college. We're seeing the women's game surpass the men's game. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, it is just a matter of time until the WNBA does that also. I think we'll get to a point where it'll kind of be like, do-si-do, switching. This season, the W is a bigger deal. This season, the NBA is a bigger deal. And back and forth based on storylines, based on marketing, based on, players, and so what. But I think we are truly in that growth. And for Bleacher Report to see that and say, we want to be invested and we see the importance of it. But then also for them to see that in us is really touching.
For sure.
For them to say like, hey, you guys are the ones, we appreciate what you've been doing. We think you're doing a good job. is so amazing. I had another thing that I wanted to say, but now I'm completely blanking on it. But
I think one of the biggest things is we need to try to get people to understand if they do want to watch it.
Yes.
It's obviously not just going to pop up on your Twitter feed or, whatever, and you're going to see us. So, and we're aware of that. It took us a minute to kind of figure it out. And it is a completely different community. I mean,
first and foremost, it's free. Let's just be clear.
Free.
It's completely free.
Sometimes you can go on there and just click the link that we'll put on Twitter and we'll just pop up. Other times it's going to take you to the App Store. At the end of the day, this show will be on the Bleacher Report app. You can create a little profile. It's free. They have a little, you can get and engage with people. You can see different content. It kind of has like a Twitter-ish sports feel to it. You can post on your, timeline. We don't do it a whole lot. But then you can go on there and you can see that will take you, once you have the link installed and you have a little account, you can go in there directly, click on our link, and it'll take you straight to the show. So it's actually not that bad. We've played around with it, or I would say the last 6 months as we've kind of gotten familiar with it. But it's obviously a platform that a lot of people live and exist on. But I don't know that that's really crossed over to women's basketball fandom or WNBA fandom quite yet. So just kind of wanted to explain that to everybody. If you do want to watch it, if you do want to, get to that show and easily kind of figure it out. That's what we've gathered so far. It's not that bad. I promise you.
It's honestly, it's super easy. Once you have the app, you don't need to create an account. Once you have the app, you can, if you do create an account, even if you don't create an account, you can like different sports teams or different sports leagues that you follow, and you will get notifications about that. You will also get, whether you follow us or not, you're going to get notifications from the app if you allow that on your phone, letting you know when we're going live, letting you know that the show has begun. And that's for our AP show and this one too. So it's super, super simple. You can also go to the Bleacher Report website. It's pretty easy. Once the show starts on those days, you can go there and watch it. Also, you don't need to be in the app, from my understanding, at least, because I think one time I wasn't on the show and I watched Rachel do it from the website.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
another cool thing about it too. Like Hoop Muse. This is someone in Utah that I've kind of engaged with recently from the college basketball side. It's fun to be able, when we're not doing our top 25 stream, when we're doing these streams that we're in control of, we're producing, we have that training and technology, but we can have the chat and we can engage with you guys. It's kind of like playback we did a few years back when we were watching stuff together and we could all talk together and hang out. It's not like you're just sitting there having to watch us. You can chat with us. We can like your comments. I can reply back to you. We can make it really interactive in that way. And so, there was just a comment on Twitter about that. Oh man, I had so much fun just kind of hanging out and engaging with you guys. So that's a cool part awesome. About it as well.
No, and the cool thing too is that can direct what we're talking about, right?
For sure.
Where we say, oh, this player is the best player ever. And then shout out to Pootie Tom hops in the chat and goes, hey, you're totally wrong. That player is not the greatest player ever. Simone Augustus is. And then we can go on a rant about why we agree, why we disagree, and so on and so forth. So, and that's definitely something that we want to continue to do on that show. Similar to this show, how we spend our time being honest and critical, we're going to do it in that show too. Just because there's likely more than 2 people, wink, wink, watching, doesn't mean that we're all of a sudden going to pull our punches and things like that. We are going to be honest and critical. That's what we do. And if there's any more thoughts on this, I just want to say we have 2 minutes to go, but I want to get in one WNBA thought. So get in your final thought.
I was going to say, we also haven't said, this is our first of the year. So Happy New Year, everybody.
Oh yeah.
Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. I went to Florida, hung out with my family. I know you were traveling a little bit. So I hope everybody had a great holiday time. We are entering core designation time. We're entering qualifying offer time. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes right now as we kind of gear up for that. And we're going to know the core stuff here, I would say, in the next week and a half. I'm a little rusty from my free agency stuff since I retired from breaking the news. There might be an offshoot bomb here and there, but yeah, things are ramping up. We're right in that period of time where those meetings are happening. And then coming in February is where we start actually hearing those signings, things become official. There's going to be a lot of handshake deals the next couple of weeks. And so enjoy a little bit of quiet right now and enjoy a little bit of, your women's college basketball right now, because the WNBA movement is getting ready to ramp up. We've already talked about Golden State. I don't think we talked about the Dallas Wings hire. That might be the one thing we could touch on.
Fine, let's dive in. I'm gonna no. Here's the thing with the Dallas Wings hire and the DC hire, both of them. And I'm gonna be blunt here. We've already, and honestly, if anything, doing the other show, Rachel, is gonna make me have hotter takes and more blunt on this because I'm gonna I've already gotten out my nice talk, and now I'm just gonna be more cutthroat. I'm very underwhelmed by DC's hire. I'm disappointed by DC's hire to go from such a cornerstone of the league. I understand a time has to come eventually. Sure. To go from such a cornerstone and I have my own issues with Little T, but to go from that to where we are now with a coach with barely any women's basketball coaching experience is a huge disappointment. I'm not even talking about the GM. When it comes to Dallas, it's a little bit different. I have my concerns, but I'll wait a little bit. My biggest concern is, and I think it's, look, when the other hires were announced around the league, there was a wide chorus of great hire. Oh man, this blah, blah, blah. When the Dallas Wings hire, I don't want to say it was underwhelming, but I don't know another way to say that. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but it was underwhelming. And I think Dallas almost even acknowledged it by saying, we interviewed 30 people for this. And now, look, you know me, I'm a devil's advocate. So there's two sides to that coin. You can say we did our due diligence and we got the person we want, or you can view that from you didn't know who you wanted. You interviewed a ton of people. You set out a wide web. You weren't able to get who you wanted. And that's why you sent out the wide web and you ended with this. So there's a lot of question marks with it. My biggest, but it's less about those question marks. It's about what you can produce. And with Dallas, we have seen 6 coaches in 8 years. Thank you for correcting me because I was thinking it was 7. We have seen so much turnover. We have seen the same story over and over and over. We have seen them doing the same equation over and over and over. Maybe now something will change. I don't know, but I definitely have questions.
I'm fascinated with Dallas from the standpoint of the shifting of Greg Bibb and the reins that he's had on this organization for so long. Can that truly shift away? Can Curt Miller be given the type of control and freedom that he needs to function? How does that dynamic work with one another? We remember Curt Miller was sought after by Dallas, but chose to go to LA. So it's interesting. I don't think there's not bad blood there. Sometimes when you're going through a hiring process, you're like, okay, not now, maybe later. So now Bibb and Miller finally link up. Curt Miller in his first position, not as a head coach. How does he handle that? Stepping away from the sidelines. Is he ready to do that? And allow someone, a protege, if you will, and Chris Koklanis, who, has never stood on the sideline, been a head coach, comes with a lot of, has worked his way up. It's an incredible story from being a practice player in college, all the way to video coordinator in the WNBA to, defensive coordinator in Connecticut, LA. I mean, he's got, you can't sit here and say this is a terrible hire. Any first-time head coach, there's going to be question marks. And so I just know that Curt Miller is extremely high on Chris. And I know that a lot of people respect him. Yes, he's young, but let's see. So to be determined, I'm excited to kind of, hopefully, I think when I look at Dallas, I'm talking about the bigger picture here. Hopefully that, and the totality between Bibb, Miller, and Chris, they can adapt to those new roles and work well together and help this franchise be better off than what it used to be. The last thing I want to say is just interesting. We always do who won free agency grades, right? Okay. We should do a who won the hiring grade this year because what was it? 7 franchises? Because that's it might have been 8. I don't even know. I was counting on Twitter and I lost track, but when that was historic, I think we're going to be talking about this throughout the course of the season because, you can't just, it's not like it was just 2 positions and, we've just been trading out people who've been in the league for a long time. We had to get new blood in this league, whether that was going to be international coaching experience, whether that was going to be college coaching experience. You've got 2 major names in Lynn Roberts and Carl Smesko. How do they adapt? How do they adapt to this wonderful world of the WNBA? That's going to be fascinating to analyze. You've got someone like probably the biggest name And Steph White could have gone anywhere, probably. She wanted to, just because of her stock at the exact time. You got Christy Sides, who didn't take anything. Who knows what she ends up? You got Tanisha Wright, who goes back to be an assistant. So you've got so many different dynamics here and a pool of people to pull from. It's going to be really fun to analyze this. And then you have other college coaches that I know for a fact were sought after and who would have taken that job. They are ready. College coaches are ready to take the jump to the WNBA. But what's going to have to happen moving forward now is that when they negotiate their contracts, their buyouts cannot be what they used to be. The buyouts have been the biggest issue with some of these big names being able to take the jump from college to WNBA. That happened a lot here in this offseason. Mm-hmm. That's the last thing I got.
No, that's some great insight. And also another thing that I just want to drop when it comes to Dallas is, how does a new head coach, a young new head coach, handle superstar personalities that we already know are on roster in Dallas? That's another question mark that I have. But I do want to give some love to, look, there was a style of coaching hires that we saw this year, and then I'm done. The style of coaching that we saw was either college or assistant in the W, right? Assistants who had success. The one that we didn't, well, I guess Steph White doesn't count. She's her own. Is Rashid going to Connecticut's son? That's a really, really interesting hire, especially when you talk about.
He was also sought after by multiple organizations.
Yep. Yeah. And to look at his connection to French teams and players in the French world, and then his connection to Belgian national players. And in that world, can you attract an Emma Miesemann? Can you attract some of these overseas players to go there? And his story is a really unique one. We'll do another episode where we dive into all that. But I think that's kind of flying under the radar of,
for sure.
Look, 90% of their roster is a free agent. They lost their head coach after a historic run, after the best start in their team, their franchise's history. They lose their head coach. They're arguably, maybe you could say, likely going to lose a bunch of those key players. But now they have sneakily added maybe the best hire. That's no shade to anyone else, because we haven't seen any of them else be head coaches and have success yet. They haven't played. But maybe they were able to get the best hire in someone who has tons of experience coaching big names, coaching superstars,
you can attract some of that talent to come over.
Exactly. I think it's a really interesting hire, and especially considering all of the talk of facilities and payment and things like that. Connecticut has not shown necessarily that they are going to invest in the facilities in the same way that some of these other teams are. Yeah. And this might be half joking, but you know who else doesn't invest in facilities and has been doing it, not investing in facilities for years and still winning? Overseas teams. That's what everybody talks about, is how there's no facilities overseas. Well, now you have a coach who knows how to work with limited resources, and arguably is going to bring over players who know how to use limited resources. So very, very interesting. Happy 2025. Very grateful to be continuing this journey with you, Rachel. I know we got tons of stuff to do, but real quick, because I have to, because it's 2025, Rachel.
I don't want to do this anymore. No.
All right, that was a 2024 thing. No more. Have a good one. We'll be back with much more to discuss.